You can be having a genuinely good time. Good people, good conversation, nothing wrong with any of it. And still, somewhere in the back of your head, there's a small clock quietly counting down to the moment you get to go home. You're not miserable. You're not antisocial. You just feel that soft pull toward the door, and you felt it your whole life. If you know that feeling, this one is about you. And once you notice it, you see it everywhere. The quiet relief when your front door finally closes behind you. An empty weekend that feels like a gift, not something to fill. Turning down an invite and feeling lighter, not left out. None of that makes you cold. But here's what most people never realize. That pull isn't only your personality. It's something you learned a long time ago, before you even had words for it. There are a handful of specific childhoods that quietly turn a person into someone who feels safest alone. By the end, you'll recognize yours, and you'll answer a question almost nobody who loves being alone ever asks. Whether you actually choose your solitude or just default to it. From the inside, those feel identical. They're not, and the difference started in childhood. Before we get into where it came from, let's be clear about what you're good at. Being comfortable alone is a real skill most people never develop. You can sit with your own thoughts and not need to fill the silence. That unsettles most people, who do anything to avoid 10 quiet minutes with themselves. It's the same reason a ringing phone, an actual call, makes you think, "Who died?" before you think, "Oh, nice." There's a name for this. A psychiatrist named Donald Winnicott called it the capacity to be alone, and the surprising part is what he thought it meant. Not damage, security. He believed we only relax into solitude when part of us feels safe. So the thing people quietly pity in you is closer to something they never learned. Researchers even separate solitude from loneliness. One is chosen and steadies you. The other is forced and wears you down. So where did it start? See which of these feels like yours. The first one is the house you had to read. Some kids grow up never sure which version of a parent they'll get. Warm one evening, distant the next, and nothing you did decided which. So you got good, without anyone teaching you, at reading a room the second you walked in, watching a face for the shift, adjusting to keep the peace. Exhausting work for a child, and you did it every day. And then there was your room, the door closed, the quiet on the other side, that small drop in your shoulders when, for the first time all day, there was no mood to manage and no one to read. John Bowlby spent his career studying how our earliest relationships teach us what to expect from people. Some kids learn early that others means staying alert, while alone means rest. That isn't a flaw. It's a skill you built in a house that asked for it, and you became your own safest place because you had to. That's the first. Here's the second, and it's quieter. For some of you, nothing dramatic happened at all. You brought your feelings to the people around you, and they got waved off. You were upset and got told it wasn't a big deal, or handed a quick fix instead of a listener. Nobody was cruel. They just didn't really see it. Psychologists call a home like that an invalidating environment, a term from Marsha Linehan, where feelings get dismissed until a kid stops bringing them out at all. So you started handling everything yourself, the person who doesn't reach for anyone when things get heavy. Not because you can't. You just learned that the quickest way to deal with a feeling was to keep it to yourself, and you got good at it too. Now here's the third, and this one isn't a wound at all. Some of you weren't shaped by anything difficult. You were just born needing more space than most kids. The world arrived louder for you, and you felt the mood of a room before anyone spoke. A psychologist named Elaine Aron studied this and called it being a highly sensitive person, not a disorder, a temperament, and roughly 1 in 5 people have it. The word introvert goes back to Carl Jung, who noticed that some people refuel from their inner world, not the outside one. For a kid wired that way, being around people all day isn't unpleasant, just a lot. Solitude was never you avoiding life. It was you turning the volume back down so you could hear yourself again. And here's the fourth, and it might be the most overlooked. Some of you simply spent a lot of time alone as a kid and discovered you were happiest there. Maybe you were an only child, or the house was calm, or you moved a lot, and your own company was the constant. And in all that time alone, you built something, a whole inner world. That feeling where you'd get so lost in a book or a game you forgot to eat and forgot the time. Psychologists call that flow, studied for decades by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and it comes from deep absorption in something. So for you, alone was never emptiness. It was where you felt most like yourself, most at home behind a closed door. That's not damage either. That's just who you turned out to be. So those are the childhoods. For years, whichever was yours, this looks like nothing but strength. You're the low-maintenance one, never clingy, never dramatic. People lean on that. But here's what's harder to admit. Needing people less slowly started to feel like a quiet superiority, like you'd solve something people who can't stand their own company never did. And being low maintenance hides a cost. Nobody gets to show up for you because you never give them the opening. Sociologist Irving Goffman called that skipped effort impression management, the work of managing how you come across. You decided young you'd rather not clock in because unreachable felt safer than let down. And here's the part nobody warns you about. The same door that once kept you safe can slowly become one you close out of habit. When alone is your default, even good closeness starts to feel like effort. Someone you actually like invites you out. Part of you is glad, and part of you is already counting the energy it'll cost. You've said, "We should do this again soon," and fully meant it, while part of you was already home in sweatpants. And little by little, without deciding to, you start reaching for solitude before you reach for anyone. Not because it's what you want tonight, just because it's what you always do. That's the uncomfortable version. Sometimes independence is exactly that, real and chosen. And sometimes it's the most comfortable place you've found to hide. On a given night, only you know which. And there's real truth on the other side, too. Deci and Ryan, two psychologists, found that one of our deepest needs is autonomy, the sense that your life belongs to you. People who love solitude have that turned all the way up. Wanting to belong to yourself is not a problem to fix. There's one last thing, the quietest of all. When you've spent most of your life alone, there's a version of you that only comes out when no one's around. The one who talks to themselves while making coffee, with the private humor and the whole inner world you built in that childhood room. And late at night, you sometimes wonder if anyone's ever actually met that person, not the easy, low-maintenance version everyone gets, the real one, behind the door. So here's the question I promised you. Tonight, when you close the door and feel that familiar relief, is it a choice or is it a reflex? Both feel like peace from the inside. Only one of them is actually free. And the childhood that taught you to close that door handed you something real and something heavy in the same moment. It gave you the ability to be alone. And it quietly taught you to reach for alone before you reach for anyone. I'm not going to tell you to text someone back or push yourself out the door. That was never the point. Maybe the only thing worth doing is noticing. Next time you choose the quiet, just ask which one it is, the choice or the habit. You don't have to change the answer. You just have to know it. And if all of this sounded like your life, know that the house you grew up in wasn't the only one like it. There are far more of us than you'd guess, in quiet rooms with the doors gently shut, all a little relieved by the silence. You learned early how to be your own good company. You were just never the only one who did.